Hey everybody, I'm still sick, so not the best. Was just coughing my eyes out. But this is pretty crazy. So President Trump has announced that any kid, 2025 to 2029, obviously there's specific stipulations, but just general news here, will get $1,000 tax deferred savings, $1,000 in an investment account that follows index funds. You will, by the time you're 18. General rule is your money will double after 9 years. So if you have $1,000, it doubles into $2,000 and it doubles again. By the time you're 18 years old, that's approximately $4,000 in tax deferred savings. Obviously, you can leave it in there and it'll continue to grow. Hey, another 9 years, you're 27 years old, that's $8,000. But the crazy thing is, even though that doesn't sound a lot, and again, that's $8,000 27 years from now. So $8,000 is probably going to be worth like $5,000, but still, it grows exponentially. The craziest lesson, if you ever watch like Futurama, there was a clip where Fry or whatever his name is goes into a bank and he's like, oh, 1,000 years ago I had like 92 cents in a savings account. How much is it now? Oh, it's over $1 billion or billions, right? It's crazy because that's one of the most powerful weapons there for anything is compound interest. It continually keeps compounding. So you're 27 years old, 36, 8 goes into 16, 16 doubles, 32, right? But it continues to do so without anything from your part. It was free. The first $1,000 is completely free. And as long as you leave it in there, eventually by the end of your lifetime, that $1,000 is worth six figures. Six figures. Now, if you wanted to put more money in, like any smart investor, if you're 18 years old and your parents tell you, hey, you've got a couple $1,000s in this index fund, let me teach you how to invest. Let me teach you how to be secure for your retirement. And maybe they give you an extra $1,000 as well. Or maybe they give you a couple grand, or maybe, you had your first job at Starbucks or Pizza Hut or whatever. You were delivering pizzas and you put on 25% of your earnings because you were still living at your parents' home. Suddenly you have a couple grand by the time, on top of the initial $4,000, by the time you're 18 years old, you wait, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Maybe you retire early, maybe you don't. But again, instead of maybe six figures, now you're looking at potential for seven figures just because of compound interest. And maybe you were putting in a little bit of money here and there, but that's separate from your 401k. That's separate from everything else. So by the time you're retiring, you may have $1 million here, $1 million there, $1 million there. It's fantastic news. I think this is a great idea because it's not a terrible sum of money. It's not like, oh no, the government's going to go completely broke. Trust me, our military spending is a little bit more than $1,000 per new child board for the next 4 years. And it's not like every citizen there gets $1,000 like the stimulus checks, right? I think it is important to teach our youth, and the best way to teach is, give a little free money here and there, and then hopefully have some classes that improve in school that tell you this is what you got to do. Like one of my favorite subjects in school, and the reason I went for my business degree was business classes, because I wanted a degree that's actually applicable in life where, all right, yes, I work in the corporate workforce or outside of corporate, whatever, who cares? I'll have a job for a couple of years and eventually I want my own business. I want stuff that's applicable to me. And I always hated how at university or at high school, there was all these classes, and yeah, history's important. I like history. That was one of my favorite classes. I love history. I loved learning about history outside of school, but was it that important in school? Writing, okay, I understand. It was pretty important, but all these extra classes, especially college, just give me classes that are strictly related to my job, to the economy, to business, to everything that will make me money. So right now I have an econ class. I love that. I love economy class, right? Sociology, not my forte. It was all right. It was cool, but I didn't really care. I did have a history class, did have an English class, did have a whole bunch of other stuff that were repeats basically from high school. Didn't really care for them. Accounting class, that was pretty important. I hated that, but it was pretty important. And that was it was a good class, right? Math class is obviously important in business. So there's all sorts of knowledge out there. And as long as these youth, when they grow up, they know exactly what to do with their money, they're set, because compound interest is everything. And this is coming from somebody who went from an upward spiral to a downward spiral to now we're going to change everything. It's basically a paradigm shift. That's like scammers' favorite word there. Paradigm shift. Oh my God, I'm getting more and more freckles from the sun, dude. I don't know, man. I got a bunch of freckles here and there from Puerto Rico. And I'm a little scared of that, man. Skin cancer or whatever. But anyways, so this is a great idea. What are your thoughts on it? So it is part of it already passed through the House. It still has to get passed through the Senate. So it's not enacted yet. It's not law, right? But it's part of the big, beautiful Bill Act and the Trump baby money account, right? It's money given to the parents. So they have to set up this account for their child, but you will get penalized just like a 401k if you withdraw before the child turns 18. If the child withdraws and it's from 18 to 25 years old, they are only eligible to withdraw half of it. And you will get taxed at 10%, similar to 401k, which sucks, but it is what it is. So if you're less than 59.5 for the 401k, you get the 10%, plus there's other fees as well. So you get a penalty and taxes, right? But the averages that we discussed earlier in this video, the doubling every 9 years, there is a chance that it grows much higher. And a lot of experts are saying instead of $4,000, by the time these kids are 20 years old, so not 18, by the time they're 20 years old, they're going to have $8,000, which is certainly possible. It's not guaranteed, but on average, give or take, you're going to have some years where the 401k doesn't grow, index funds, mutual funds, they're not going to grow as much. But if you're tracking the market, on average, for the past couple of decades, you're probably going to get 10% growth annually. So averaged out through the bad years, through the great years, some years will go crazy, right? Some years, like this past year, was a little rougher at moments, and you can't really track it month to month. You're going to have a really, really bad time. You're super stressed out for tracking month to month, like I was at a certain point, because it just doesn't make any sense. It's on such a long time frame that it doesn't matter. You could go through a crisis this year, and the next year, everything's going to get gained back. So 10%, maybe it's going to be 15. Who cares? Whether it's $4,000, $8,000, $9,000 by the time the kid's 20 years old. Obviously, richer families will be able to invest a lot more, so the kid may have $100,000 instead of $8,000. But even if it's a poor family and they don't invest a single dollar more, if it's $4,000, $8,000, $10,000, it doesn't matter the amount. That's $10,000 more dollars. That's $5,000 more dollars than before. They didn't have that. And the fact that it's not penalized, if you follow the rules, it's not penalized, and you're able to invest that towards education. You're able to invest that towards something else, where maybe that $5,000, if they do have to withdraw, if it's an emergency, that $5,000 could have saved them from homelessness, or it could have been invested into their education. Maybe they required an additional $5,000, and that $5,000 was able to change their life because they were able to finish their bachelor's degree, or maybe it was a course, or maybe they needed a CDL, or maybe they needed something else, right? So there's so many ways you can take that $5,000 and invest that even more so. It just gives you an opportunity where you didn't have that before. And for the rich Americans, obviously, more money, well, they're going to know how to use it. They're going to be able to invest it properly. They're not going to need to withdraw it. But there's going to be plenty of cases where the poorer families, they wouldn't have had that, because $1,000 can be absolutely life-changing. For some of these individuals, they wouldn't have had this before. And unless you've lived through poverty yourself, unless you've been through a paycheck to paycheck scenario where you could have an emergency. Like yesterday, my phone freaked out. It's gone. It's basically done, right? A couple $100 to repair it. I didn't have an emergency fund. It's just, I still got to sell some things right now to fix my phone. You always have emergencies happen, right? Your tire explodes, your phone breaks. Stuff happens where it's pretty important. You need a car to get to work. You need a phone to do pretty much everything nowadays, right? Especially if you're waiting for job interview offers and whatnot. And there's just a bunch of stuff out there where the average poor family doesn't have even an extra couple $100 laying around, let alone $1,000 to invest. Because that $1,000, they want to invest. It's not that they don't want to. Most do, but they just don't have that, because that $1,000 is probably going towards their backdated rent, because they haven't paid rent and they're close facing eviction, or they're facing a repossession of their vehicle. Some Americans haven't paid 4 months of their car because they can't afford it, and then the late fees, and it makes it more impossible. So the fact that they are going to get an additional $1,000, Bentley, that is nice. That is very nice. Look at that. Oh yeah. I'm a big proponent of this idea. I want to hear your opinions. What are your thoughts on this? And that's that.